just lying here on the floor. Cold towels, my feet against the door. How long have I been in this space? Arms over eyes, help me retrace. How did I become the doormat here? Memories spinning around my head seem pretty cavalier. Little by little you take control. It's a little uncivil how your game's emotional. And I don't even notice that I'm playing your game. Do you leave me a warning thinking I'm the one to from my heart has made it pretty clear. Little by little you take control. It's a little uncivil how your game's emotional. And I don't even notice that I'm playing your game. Do you leave me warning thinking I'm the one to
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting Saturday night coverage of the World Sim Racing. Cannot wait to see how these drivers tonight for WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. They leave the international waters, coming back to that of the States, where we're going to be seeing the drivers tackle one of the trickier tracks. It's Pocono for that of the K Franks Enterprise 225 here at Pocono Raceway. For these drivers, 90 laps. They're going to be trying to see how they can tackle this magical triangle. And who's going to be on top? Well, currently, we're trying to figure that out at this moment. Still a minute and 40 seconds left in qualifying. Let's see who's going to take the pole award. And we cannot wait to give you all the coverage of these 90 laps. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, from Japan to now back to the States. Drivers certainly are hoping that they can maybe find a little bit of that magic that Vincent Sora's had so far this season.
Yeah, find a little bit of magic, but Sam, we're coming from a relatively unknown difficult track at the Twin Ring Motegi circuit to the tricky triangle here at Pocono. So not the easiest back-to-back racetracks for these drivers as Cedric Hunter's out on his qualifying lap. So drivers got to have a lot in store for them tonight, but we'll see if anybody can unseat Vincent Sora, who is on a little bit of a hot streak.
He certainly has been on a hot streak. Vincent Sora, 3 wins this season out of the 7 races that have ran so far. And if he gets a win here tonight, would be winning half of the races that have already been ran. Crazy to think that of the 2-time champ has that dominant of speed. But currently, it's going to be his teammate, Brian P. Johnson, on top of the board. 30 seconds left in qualifying. There's 2 drivers out on track. Chad Wilkes as well as Tyler Dangler trying to get at least 1 lap in before their time is done. But the tricky triangle here this evening, going to be an interesting racetrack. It has got 3 very different corners, so distinct that they are copies from other tracks. Turn 1 with 14 degrees of banking, going to be that a model of Trenton Speedway, as well as turn 2 going to be from that of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's corners at 8 degrees. Turn 3, though, that is a corner where drivers are hoping to figure out they can maximize their speed to set up for the long straightaway. 6 degrees of banking, modeled off of that of the Milwaukee Mile. Trevor, certainly 3 corners, 3 very famous tracks that these corners are coming off of. And now it's time to see how the grid's going to start here tonight.
Yeah, 3 corners. It's all about getting 2 of those 3 right, Sam. Usually turn 1 and turn 3 to get the best runs down those straightaways that these drivers are really going to have to worry about tonight as we take a look at our starting order.
As here's the starting order, getting the pole award. Your pole going to be grid, sponsored by Colley's mom, as she was hoping to see Brandon Colley taking the pole, which would have been his 3rd. Not going to happen this season. So it's going to be instead Brian P. Johnson taking the crown here at Pocono. To the outside, going to be Cedric Hunter in the 13. Brandon Colley going to be in 3rd, with Zach Hall 4th, Aaron Kralik 5th, Ryan Bird 6th, Vincent Sora 7th, 8th goes to Brad Delph, Christopher Norris 9th, and finishing out your top 10 going to be that of Jonathan Coxwell.
Tom Sinchek will roll off in 11th, with Thomas Walter in 12th, Kyle Rochelle 13th, Larry Yingling in 14th, Tyler Dangler 15th, Chad Wilkes in 16th, and James Hackworth Jr. will round out the 17 drivers here tonight.
17 drivers, a field much smaller than what we were expecting to see. Their drivers are currently underway with a drivers meeting, but once they're done with that, we'll bring up one of the drivers, get their thoughts coming into this race. But as we got some time to talk, let's shout out some of the amazing sponsors the WSSR have, starting off with Roasted Gems Coffee. Roasted Gems Coffee has been the title sponsor of the WSSR for the last 2 seasons. It's been a great sponsor to have for this amazing crew. And if you want to go get yourself some quality premium coffee that can wake you up for a great day, go use your promo code WSSR for 5% off at roastedgems.com for great coffee. Start your day off right with Roasted Gems. As well, that of Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack is the place to go. You can design anything, full pictures or more. Get your company logo, memes? Well, Trophy Smack would love to have all your designs, as you can go look for the best of that championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Go to trophysmack.com and use the promo code WSSR Cup to get yourself 10% off on any purchase at Trophy Smack. Thank you to the amazing sponsors here at the WSSR Cup Series as the drivers are rolling off. Let's see if we can talk to one of these drivers that are going to be out there on track. He's been one of the hottest drivers, looking for some clean runs. Let's see if we can cue in that 0-1 of Aaron Kralik. Aaron, it's Sam and Trevor up the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear.
Well, we're at Pocono. How are you feeling about this track based off of practice and qualifying so far?
This thing's going to be very, very much draft dependent. I feel pretty good about the car. She is a little tight for me, but hopefully with a little bit of gearing magic, we can get her through the corners and try to save that right front. Hopefully we have a very good day for this tide ride.
I mean, Aaron, you're going to roll off 5th here tonight, so a pretty good track position for yourself. I mean, how hard do you expect it to be to get passes done here tonight?
Oh, you have to time it perfectly on corner exit, get a run down and then hopefully send it into the corner and hopefully don't take anyone out. So Spots are going to be a premium tonight, and the draft is very, very heavy here.
Aaron, we can't wait to see how you're going to perform here this evening. Good luck, and hopefully we'll be talking to you later on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, boys. Good luck up in the booth.
Thank you. That's going to be the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik, part of that Sidewinders Motorsports team. His teammates, a couple of champions with them. That of Vincent Sora, Brian P. Johnson, who has the pole, and Thomas Walter, all in the same group. Going to be working with one another. That's a good pot of drivers to be having in your back corner. But for tonight, for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, race number 8, for the K. Franks Enterprise 225 at Pocono, we're green, and it's going to be side-by-side action. It's going to be that of the 13, the 28, that Cedric Hunter on the outside, that of Brian Johnson on the inside, down into turn number 1, already drivers 3 wide into this corner.
Yeah, Aaron Crowley looking to make an early move to the inside of the one of Brandon Colley. Just wasn't quite able to get to his inside, but it's going to be Christopher Norris through the middle, 3 wide in that 38 machine. He's to the inside of Zach Hall. Cedric Hunter, though, with a great start. Sam's going to clear that 28 out of turn number 1 and take over the lead. Johnson's not going to give it up halfway down the back straightaway.
Johnson's trying to find an opening if he could squeeze in between the teammates, not able to do so, but Cedric Hunter through turns 2, down into the straightaway. 13 takes the lead and hoping to lead that a lap number 1. That of Aaron Crowley, we got to talk about coming into this race. That 0-1 talked about the draft. He wasn't in it, has fallen back to 8th place. He's going to have to gain some positions as this run continues on. Out of turn number 3, it's the 13 of Cedric Hunter leading lap number 1. And it's Brian Johnson, 2nd place. He got the pole, didn't lead the lap. And Trevor, that could be a sign for the rest of the night.
Very well could be. I mean, Cedric Hunter got such a great start on the initial start, was able to hold it around the outside, got the run down the back straightaway to clear that one machine, and no draft help from Brian Johnson. Luckily, was able to tuck in front of Brandon Colley, but we saw how detrimental that was to Aaron Crowley with how many spots he has. So these drivers definitely have to be careful when they go to duck out of line. If they have no help, they could cost them a couple of positions.
And positions are starting to swap back and forth in the middle of the field. Zach Hall up to 4th place. Hasn't moved from where he started. Behind him, biggest mover, it's the 38, going to be of Christopher Norris in 5th place. Biggest mover up 4 spots. Took advantage of that restart. Saw there was 3 wide openings in the middle. Took his shot, and what a move to place him in 5th.
Yeah, I just went instantly 3 wide into turn number 1, got it to stick. Got to the inside and into the tunnel turn there, so did a really good job being aggressive early on. Now just trying to settle in right behind that of Zach Hall in that 42 machine and see if these guys or this little group here of Hall, Norris, and Sora can catch that lead pack, and they're slowly starting to close in on those guys.
Starting to do so as you see this gaggle of machines going to be led by the late Apex crew of Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek. But in the middle of all this, the 12 of Chad Wilkes. Wilkes, right when qualifying started, got disconnected, got reconnected right before the race started. Kind of surprised. He was one of the threats. I was curious on how he was going to run during qualifying. Chad Wilkes was around that at the top 3 during practice. Now he's mired in that 11.
And now it's about being patient for that of Chad Wilkes and even Aaron Kralik, who's fallen all the way back there with him. Those two definitely, want to gain spots here, Sam, but you need to take it easy on those tires. You don't want to burn up the tires a little bit too early trying to get through this traffic and then just cost yourself more track positions. You fall back on older tires. So it's going to be a balance about picking them up as quickly as you can, but not burning up that right front tire.
Taking it easy. Where do you want to go? As you see one driver to the inside. That's still going to be late Apex, just playing their own games currently with Ryan Bird in that winner groove. Trying to slot himself in front of Brad Delp, who's one of the drivers looking at the points coming into tonight. Top 16 drivers make it into the playoffs. So right on board with the 12. Extreme side drafting as Chad Wilkes on Brad Delp, trying to make this pass for 10th place as Wilkes looks to be clear, passing the 14.
Yeah, did exactly what he needed to do. Got that pass cleared as he clips the outside wall, though. Sam coming out of turn number 3. Thankfully, he's going to have that draft help of Ryan Bird, though, but the 14 there of Delph going to try to use that side draft to pull this 12 car back to him, see if he can pull that same kind of slide job move off into turn number 1 that Wilkes pulled on him in turn number 3, but just not going to get enough rotation through the center of the corner to make that move stick for himself. So Wilkes holds on to that position.
Holds on, and drivers over the radio just taking deep breaths for themselves, recognizing this is going to be a long race. For 5 laps in, there are no stage breaks for this race here tonight, There is no fast repairs, but 4 extra set of tires in pit road. And also, Trevor, we're given the fuel mileage run. This could be an interesting race on how drivers think about making their pit stops this evening.
Yeah, 30, 35, 38 laps, 36 to 38 laps, somewhere in there is going to be that fuel pit stop range. So, two-stop strategy, caution at some point could really shake up kind of the pit strategy for these guys. But looking like a solid two-stop race, Sam, but it's all going to be about when we make those pit stops. Like we harp on week in, week out. You cannot afford to make a mistake, especially here at Pocono with how much time you can potentially lose by doing so.
Absolutely not. Do not want to make any of those mistakes. You see the 3 machines identical. That of late Apex going to be running on board the 8 machine of Tom Senchek in 7th place. Setting up, trying to go by that of Christopher Norris and Vincent Sora. Talked to Vincent Sora for a quick moment before we were live. 15, not as confident as he's been at other tracks about succeeding and going for another win here tonight. Said, hey, it looks like maybe you can get another win here at Pocono. Said, likelihood, not very strong. He does not seem confident as he looked back from the 8th at his teammate Ryan Bird being hunted and hounded by Chad Phillips.
Though every time Vincent Soros says that he's not confident on the racetrack, by the end of the race, Sam, he's up there battling for the win. So wouldn't be surprised to see Vincent work his way up there, but definitely right now having a little bit of a struggle. He's only up 2 spots to 5th position, but still having a good run. As those late Apex guys, Sam, the trio of them all nose to tail trying to close in. Still stuck behind Christopher Norris, but then you got Chad Wilkes, like you mentioned, up to 10th spot, up 6 spots from where he started, hounding the back of Ryan Bird in the 49.
Hearing from Aaron Kralick's interview right before we went green, the fact they talked about how important the draft was going to be. I mean, 3 teammates in line. I mean, they've got a ton of power. If they decide to just work as one, they could really start to march their way going forward. But that's if they all get a good run at the same time, as we're now 7 laps into this run. I would imagine these tires probably at peak conditions, but Trevor, you never know with the fact that the weather also going to be a big factor, as Christopher Norris going to do a late block on Tom Senchek, forcing it side by side as we see the weather conditions. 100 degrees for the track temp, mostly cloudy. 80% is the ambient temperature, and the wind starting to figure out if it wants to pick up or stay low. And right now it's up to 9 degrees, 9 miles per hour, now up to 10 heading west.
Yeah, the kind of swirling there a little bit, Sam, is Senchek gives a little bit of bump there to Christopher Norris going into the tunnel turn, but Norris does a great job hanging on to that, and a great job hanging on to that position. Is a little bit of side draft here down the short chute into turn number 3, and Senchek again going to try to continue to stay to the inside of Christopher Norris in the 38, but Norris doing such a great job on that outside line, keeping his momentum up and holding onto that position. Now here comes the 21 of Kyle Rochelle, who's going to go by his teammate on the outside.
Would have thought maybe you'd see the 21 try to get in line and work with his teammate. No, just going to do a simple swap between the two. 21 sticks with the toe that he had with Christopher Norris, and now the Elite Apex drivers, I know they're all in the same Discord channel, so they can communicate very easily with one another, but right there, I mean, from an outside point of view, you would have thought maybe you'd see some more teamwork aspect, looking like more of a junior motorsports racing back at Daytona with the way these moves are.
Yeah, just kind of not being polite to one another, but I mean, it was a clean pass there. Rochelle gets a little bit loose out of the tunnel turn, caught the apron there a little bit. It was a clean pass. It just took advantage of Senchek being held up by Christopher Norris, but it just goes to show you, Sam, how hard it is to get a pass done around here. Senchek side by side with Christopher Norris basically a whole lap, and then ends up losing a position to his teammate. Is that? Oh, they make contact. Rochelle goes around.
No, Kyle Rochelle off the nose of Tom Senchek, and that's going to bring out the first yellow tonight, lap 10. And teammates not working as one, instead wrecking one another.
I think your analogy of the junior motorsports organization was spot on there, Sam, as the teammates get together, and it looked like maybe just a side draft gone wrong, sends Rochelle spinning to the inside, but just a questionable move to be that aggressive, especially with your teammate this early on.
As we're getting the replay set up, I mean, it was one of those things where you thought, okay, they're just swapping back and forth. Maybe they're going to work together. Kyle Rochelle seemed, you were pointing it out, the looseness really was not helping the 21 at all. I think he might have actually got pushing tight off the exit of the corner while Tom Senchek was trying to side draft his teammate not to lose any more ground. And this is what brings out the calamity. See the 21 get a little bit tight off the corner. He moves down while Tom Senchek, expecting his teammate to be closer to the wall, moves up And off the nose, there goes the teammate. Friendly fire going to be used as in chat. Got to take that from Rich Jamison. I would say that's a perfect phrase to use. Friendly fire certainly was engaged there.
Yep, friendly fire, but thankfully for Kyle Rochelle, I mean, there's a lot of runoff area on the front straightaway here at Pocono, so able to keep it out of the inside wall. Burnt the tires up though with that long slide, but thankfully no damage to either car there. Just a loss of track position for himself and some, I would assume, not so friendly words over the team radio between those two drivers.
And now, I mean, at least they can easily communicate what they're feeling in that situation, try to clear it up and get it together as one. But again, these drivers do have plenty of tires to work with. 4 extra sets in pit road. 10 laps into this run. Trevor, we're about to get the answer of it. Do you take tires or do you not? As they're coming out of turn 2, got a little bit of decision time to be made.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting here. I think if you're going to play the long strategy, I think the play here is to come in, take those tires, get your fuel, and then you can go, try to go long and see what happens. If there's a late race caution, it might help you out, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm assuming after 10 laps, though, a lot of these guys are going to want those fresh tires because I think the fall off's going to be pretty high, and it looks like, Sam, everybody's going to come down pit road here.
Everyone looking to be aiming, not taking any risk as the field comes into pit road, but they do have to be careful not to run into one another. One driver, though, is taking the risk, and that's the 67 of Larry Yingling, who stays out as the rest of the field comes into pit road.
Interesting call by Larry there, Sam. I mean, he's going to have to come down pit road at around lap, with the caution, probably around lap 40, I would think. Is it looks like, Brian Johnson and Brandon Colley both slide through their pit box, Sam, on this pit stop. That's going to cost them a couple of seconds and some positions there. But for Larry, I mean, he can go probably that of another 20 laps, 25 laps or so before he has to make that pit stop. So just interesting call.
Very interesting calls all around. This is going to be the 27 first car out. Jonathan Cogswell, fuel only for the 27. While that of Cedric Hunter, because of the slipping and sliding by the 28 and the 1 of overshooting their pit stops, Cedric Hunter will move up to 3rd. Zach Hall up to 4th. Major losses for that of the 1 as well as the 28.
Yeah, and those are the mistakes that we always talk about. So easy to do, especially in these next-gen cars with the way the brakes are. Not very responsive unless you have a lot of heat into them, and very easy, especially depending on where you have your brake bias set, to slide through your box. And right there with Brandon Colley and Brian Johnson, both of them doing the same thing, and go from running 2nd and 3rd all the way down there to 9th and 11th, respectively.
Well, early caution, not a lot of big points to touch on there, except for the fact that we got 2 drivers going to be on older tires. Larry Yingling deciding not to come to pit road. He's going to have to deal with that fuel loss. He's going to be by himself. Jonathan Cogswell, though, taking no tires, just fuel. So he's technically on the same strategy as everyone else, but expected to lose a lot of ground here. Interesting calls all around as the 27 actually looks to be aiming to come into pit road, as he will. Jonathan Cogswell might have been a mistake by the 27 and Ryan Bird following suit.
I wonder if he was maybe thinking he was going to stay out, or come in, get fuel, lead a lap, come back down pit road, or what was going on there. Or maybe, like you said, just a mistake, didn't have his tires checked on, has to come in. So Bird, Cogswell, Delph, Rochelle, and Hackworth all down pit road, probably just to top off on fuel and extend their fuel run by a couple of laps. But Sam, I'm still going to be curious on this 67 machine and how this strategy is going to work out for him.
Yeah, I think the 6-7 probably in the loss strategy where it's kind of hard to figure out where he's going. I actually really like the fact that these drivers, we just had 5 of them all coming to pit road to top off. That of Jonathan Cogswell, the only one to take tires because he forgot to take it on his first stop. But the drivers that are deciding to top off on fuel, I'm trying to do the calculations. They are going to be very close. If they can find ways to save fuel extremely here and going into this run and we stay green, they will be in a one-stop strategy, while everyone else, they might have to do a one-stop and then a splash and go after that.
I mean, it could happen, and it's so easy to save fuel here with how long this racetrack is, how kind of long the corners are, really easy to clutch it through the corners, save a little bit of fuel, especially if you're in the draft of somebody else. That's another way that these guys can save fuel. So I mean, if this goes green, it could really work out for those guys. For those drivers, Ryan Bird, Delph, Rochelle, Cogswell, and Hackworth. This could really play into their favor.
Well, again, leader going to be Larry Yingling in the 67, going to be on the inside lane with Cedric Hunter in the 13 to the outside. Cedric already knows how this game plan should work, coming through 1 and 2, but how quickly will Larry Yingling go backwards, or can that of 11 lap difference on tires hold strong? Green flag is out for the K Franks, that of Express's 225 here tonight, as we're going to be seeing already drivers throwing it outside, inside. Vincent Sora being blocked. He was trying to force it 3 wide into 1, not able to do so, and Larry Yingling holding steady on the inside lane, but there goes the tires on the outside.
Yeah, and just like the first restart, Cedric Hunter just overpowering on the outside line, easily clears Larry out of turn number 1 down the Long Pond straightaway. Here comes Vincent Sora looking to the outside of the 67 machine to see if he can get this done. Kind of an unorthodox way around here in the tunnel turn, trying to take the outside on that 67 machine. So Larry has a little bit of a wiggle, and Sora's going to get the better launch here down the short chute.
Through the short chute, gonna be seeing the 15 holding strong on the outside as that Larry Yingling. How will these tires? He had a little bit of time to have that cool off period through the caution. Hoping these tires will hold steady for at least a lap or 2 before he really starts to fall down the leaderboard. And also drivers to watch out for. And note, 7th and 8th place runners, that's Brandon Colley, that of Brian Johnson, that lost a lot of time with that pit stop. They are now trying to go for their first try through this deeply heavy traffic that's in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, trying to get back through the pack. And I tell you what, Sam, Larry, even on those older tires, just drove by Vincent Sora in turn number 1, cleared the 15 back, so holds on to 2nd place. So those tires don't look that bad, at least this early on in the run. And I think that just also, attests to how hard it is to complete a pass here.
And also, Trevor, last week at that Twin Ring Motegi, Larry Yingling was not afraid to be blocking Vincent Sora. There were some couple of pretty aggressive blocks being made on the 15 last week in Japan. So watch out if drivers really want to get aggressive once again. Is side by side going to be that battle for 4th place. As the 12 is good, but we're riding on board with Christopher Norris. As 38 just a nose there, trying to keep the side draft as Norris throws it down the yellow line. Behind them, it's that of the trophy stack machine of Brian P. Johnson, trying to figure out which lane to follow. It looks like the outside lane might be the better place to be.
Yeah, the outside line has a great run out of turn number 1. Norris just couldn't get the momentum built up after being stuck to the inside. Clears out of Christopher Norris, going to tuck in right now behind the 12 of Chad Wilkes. So Johnson not wasting any time, Sam, after that pit stop mistake, moving his way back through the field.
Moving his way in early laps is when you're going to be able to make these passes as quickly as you can because of everyone being side by side. The side draft keeping those at bay, but now with everyone starting to single file out, lots of opportunities to make passes certainly starting to show as we see the 1, Brandon Colley, still stuck in 9th position, trying to get by Tom Sinchek and not able to. The draft help was not there, as now the 1 and the 0-1 going to be in line, and behind them, Thomas Walter in the 0-4. A decent run for himself here this evening.
Yeah, Thomas Walter just quietly lurking right outside the top 10. Qualified in 12th, up to 11th, and just kind of waiting to see who's going to try to make a pass on one another, see if he can pick up a free spot if somebody gets caught on the inside with no draft help. As again, he follows in right behind the 0-1 of Aaron Kralik, who following behind that of Brandon Colley, and they're losing a little bit of touch here to that of Sinchek, Zach Hall, but Sinchek looking to go to the inside of the 42 machine right in front of them, try to get that pass done, but Zach's going to have a little bit more momentum here on the outside line, see if he can get that position back here down the front straightaway.
Down the front straightaway, Tom Sinchek going to be trying to side draft. A lot easier this go around is not having someone break a little tight off the exit. And now seeing the drivers who can take this position for 7th place as Sinchek looks to be a little bit stronger, but they got to be careful as the 8 breaks tight. He has to let off, and there goes the position in the pass as the 42 to 7th place, and the cloud coverage trying to cool off this track.
Yeah, try to cool the track down here. Still hasn't cooled down any, still at 100 degrees, but that cloud cover could cool this track off, give these cars a little bit more grip, could make passing a little bit easier as Vincent Sora able to get around Larry Yingling at some point. But right here, it's going to be Delph Dangler battling it out. This is a battle for 13th and 14th position as Delph dives it to the inside. He's got the 27 of Cogswell right there behind them. See if he can get this pass cleared in front of Dangler, and he's going to get it done. Cogswell, though, not able to get to the inside and get the side draft, and he might be in danger of losing a position to the 21 of Kyle Rochelle.
Rochelle, once again, seeing that of a great way to just utilize the draft. Whoever's trying to make a pass, just stay on the outside. You're going to take that position easily. And 21 of Rochelle on the move, trying to get by drivers. As in the middle of the pack, drivers starting to get a little bit more vocal as almost an incident between Tom Senchek and that of Brandon Colley off of turn number 1.
Yeah, and it looks like that of Senchek's going to clear that of Zach Hall. Zach kind of just let him have it there through turn number 2. Colley couldn't get through there, and I think Tom's just a little bit frustrated. Sam, he's gone for these passes so many times on various different drivers, just hasn't been able to get the car to stick or had any draft help to really get anybody or to help him pass anybody. And maybe he's starting to feel like guys aren't giving him enough room, but finally got a pass done and closing in on this battle right ahead of him between Christopher Norris and Larry Yingling.
Larry Yingling, after being passed by Vincent Sora, has been on the quick trip going backwards, and 67. I mean, if anything, you could say those older tires, if it's 10-lap difference, pretty solid for the first 2 to 3 laps. But after that, the 67 has been struggling on the pace side of things. He's been about that 3 to 4 tenths slower than the rest of the field as Larry continues just to hold steady and where he's at 6th position. But wouldn't be surprised to see that Tom Senchek, as well as the one of Brandon Colley, either both go to the down low, and it looks like it's just the one trying to make a pass by himself here on the 8 of Tom Senchek.
Yeah, Senchek got a little checked up behind that of Larry Yingling coming out of turn number 2 down that short shoot straightaway there, and now they're going to be side by side here. Colley, Senchek down the front straightaway. Not an aggressive side draft from Colley, just kind of keeping it straight here, getting a little bit of help. See if he dive bombs it down here into 1, tries to pull a slide job off. Just not going to have enough room to pull that off. They're still going to be side by side, and this could bring Zach Hall into the picture to get a position here on Brandon Colley as he gets a little bit tight. Contact's made, but they keep it straight.
Keeping it straight, and you do not want to be making too much contact with the exit of turn 1, as there are some very aggressive angles to hit the wall on the inside, and if you hit just a bad angle, bad spot, you can see your race being over in an instant as Colley has to reset, figure out how he wants to be moving forward. I say this has been some fantastic racing for the drivers in the middle of the pack. They've been trying to hold steady, but up front, it is a 4-horse race between Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson, and Chad Wilkes, as that of Christopher Norris in 5th place, trying to keep up the best that he can, and the draft certainly is helping him as, oh boy, Colley forcing it 3 wide in the back of our camera, the one saying, it's my time to go.
I mean, that was it. He had such a good run down the front straightaway as Larry and Senchek had been battling with one another. Dives it 3 wide, couldn't get 2 for 1 there, but does get around the 67 of Larry Yingling. And I think if there was a little animosity between Tom and Brandon a couple laps ago, that might be continuing to build as Colley is not cutting Tom Senchek any breaks. They've already made contact once, 3 wide right there. This could get a little bit interesting with these two as this run continues.
We're riding on board with One Machine Brandon Colley, just giving us a sense of what it's like to race at this track. As Trevor, we're coming out of the exit of turn number 3. Give us a little bit of a taste of what it's like to race your Pocono.
Yeah, really flat turn 3. You can take multiple lines. You can run the high side, run the bottom, run the middle. It's all about getting that good run off. And right there, you can see the difference of what a good run off of turn 3 looks like compared to a bad run. As Colley just dips right out, cuts to the inside, clears Tom Senchek down into 1, but Senchek trying to maybe go for the crossover move. Can't quite get it done as he dives all the way to the bottom. It's going to have to fall back in line and give that position up.
You can see in the mirror that the 8 machine was thinking about pulling it down low, wasn't able to through that the long backstretch corner into the tunnel turn. This is from the Indianapolis corner. And this is a great turn to the drivers get the sense. I mean, Trevor, certainly when you hit that corner right, a big effort from every driver. It is the best feeling when you can just send it through turns 2.
Yeah, that is the greatest feeling of all. When you hit that corner just right, you come flying out of it, right up to the outside wall, carry a ton of speed down that short chute. But It's a game of inches. You miss it by a couple of inches, you could end up in the outside wall. You could end up spinning yourself out off the corner if you catch too much of the apron. And then it's back to that flat turn 3 with multiple grooves to set yourself up down the front straightaway. And Sam, it's like, I think every driver, and I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, if you can get 2 of these 3 corners right, you're having a great lap. If you get all 3 of them right, you had the perfect lap out there here at Pocono.
Searching for all of that speed in each lap these drivers put in, anywhere from a high 53-second time to a middle to low 54-second time as they go around this 2.5-mile course, just 3 corners. And we've got our top 3 keeping it close with one another as it's Cedric Hunter, Brian Johnson able to get by Vincent Sora, as Johnson trying to set up how to get by the 13 machine, as that pink of Cedric Hunter trying to show out for his sponsor of the Roasted Gems Coffee, but it's Trophy Smack right on the tail bumper.
Yeah, the battle of the sponsors here, Roasted Gems, Trophy Smack, and it looks like Johnson's going to take that 28 machine to the outside, see if he can get a little bit better run here out of turn number 1. Not looking like he was really comfortable up there, as it's going to allow the 13 to pull away, but here comes that run, Sam. He's going to have that draft help too, to suck right up to that rear bumper, but just can't go anywhere with that run. Not going to have time to look to the inside here in turn number 2. He's going to have to stay in line.
Stays in line, settling for the next corner. Just always every lap, every corner, trying to figure out how to set up for these long straightaways. The short chute, the difference between turns 2 to 3 is where drivers really can maximize their speed. If you get a good turn 2, turn 3, setting up this long straightaway for the front stretch as we ride on board with the 12 machine of Chad Wilkes. Trevor, focus is also something that these drivers, we always seem to kind of forget sometimes on how long these straightaways can be, but focus, certainly one of those other keys.
Yeah, it really is really easy, especially on these straightaways when you're kind of in a line like this, to kind of lose track of where you are, miss your entry point to a corner, and really hurt yourself to on corner exit. You could lose a couple positions, or run over the guy in front of you if they have to lift a little bit earlier and you're not prepared for that. So really easy to kind of lull yourself into a sense of security if you're not on your toes 24/7.
As we ride on board with the 12 machine of Chad Wilkes. Chad Wilkes, one of those drivers that came into this season in the middle as he hopped into the car back at that of Nashville, and at that of the Twin Ring Motegi Grand Prix. He was here for Nashville, also for that of the Lucas Oil Raceway. Missed out last week, was hoping to run at that of the Twin Ring Oval, but this 12, look at the starts. He has been fantastic at the start of the races. For qualifying, the worst qualifying position he's had was 5th. He's also qualified 4th at that of the Grand Prix, and 2nd at Lucas Oil Raceway tonight for that of Chad Wilkes. Qualified 16th, that's because he missed out on qualifying. I'm not surprised by the speed, but it's been the finishes where we've seen the struggle for this 12.
Yeah, just hasn't quite been able to get those finishes to back up his qualifying attempts. I think it was Lucas Oil, Sam, where showed a lot of speed early, just had that instance where the car kind of snapped on him, overcorrected, and took him out of a chance for a good finish there. But here tonight, having a great run up to that of 4th position, and Sam doing something that I don't know we've seen anybody, we haven't touched on yet. He's shifted from 5th to 4th in a couple of corners to try to get that car to rotate and keep as much momentum as he can.
Well, we also saw there Christopher Norris was shifting a little bit. Here we go, shifting down into 4th, and you get your turn 1, trying to slow down. But will he go into that a 3rd, or go straight into 5th? And it looks like he's going to stay in 4th, but 5th is where you're going to want to find that speed, especially on these 2 long stretches. You got the longest one being on the front stretch, then this is the back stretch where drivers also are finding a little bit of extra pace. Really, this 12, looking for every little bit of speed.
Yeah, and the downshifting, the engine braking when you downshift can really help, get the car to turn for you, not take a lot of braking, so you don't build a lot of heat in the tire from the brake temperature here. So, and could help you with momentum off as it doesn't bog down in 5th gear, allows you to keep the RPMs up. So interesting strategy here from a couple of these guys that are currently shifting. I think our leader, Cedric Hunter, might be doing the same thing. Yeah, right there, shifts down into that of 4th gear. He's again under attack from the 28 of Brian Johnson.
And I think also for one of those things, that was something that Aaron brought up was the fact that of you got the draft also shifting. So I'm not surprised in the fact that we're seeing shifting being utilized with how much these drivers they're hitting these max speeds of 180 on the back stretch, short shoot. They're finding that of 170. The front straightaway almost 200 miles per hour. These massive speeds, you got to slow down somehow to get down to 150. I'm not surprised at the fact that we're seeing these drivers trying to do a little bit of engine braking as well as using the brakes to try to whoa up these machines that have so much speed.
Yeah, using every tool in their arsenal to wheel these cars around this racetrack as we're just completed lap 30, or I'm sorry, just completed lap 29, starting lap 30. And again, Brian Johnson, Sam, he's not giving up, wants this position back, started on the pole, was quickly passed there by the 13 of Cedric Hunter, but Cedric not wanting to give up this clean air as they're going to be side by side, and Cedric keeps him cleared here down the Long Pond straightaway.
And for that of Brian Johnson tonight, going to be his 67th start in the WSSR Cup Series. That's the third longest of the most starts that anyone has had in this series. The other drivers that beat him out going to be the driver that's leading this race of Cedric Hunter, who's got 70 starts. Make it 71 counting tonight, and Zach Hall with 72 starts as the counting tonight's start. So not surprised to see some of the fastest drivers and drivers that have been veterans in the series up front, but Vincent Sora doing his best to try to help out his teammate. Well, we see some friendly fire now, as we saw that with Late Apex earlier on. Will Vinny work with his teammate or decide to just be a little bit selfish here? And it seems like it's more so of, yes, we're teammates, but Trevor, it always seems like it's always, I'm fighting for myself, I'm racing for myself, which is always the interesting dynamic of having teammates in a racing series.
Yeah, it always makes it interesting. You want to help them as much as possible, but at the same time, you want to do what's best for you. And right now, I feel like if these two can work together, they can maybe get around this 13 car. But here we go again. Just got a run, had to take the run and see what he can do now as Vincent Sora goes to the inside of Brian Johnson to see if he can get this pass done and see if he can go up there and challenge Cedric Hunter. But I think Chad Wilkes here might be in a position to pick up a spot here as Vincent Sora is going to be stuck on the inside with no draft help.
No draft help, but if Chad Wilkes can close in that gap and not allow the 15 to move back in line, that could be a massive pickup by Chad Wilkes to move into third place. But Sora keeping it dead even side by side on the entry of turn one. But here comes that outside pace. Brian Johnson, he needs to make sure he stays off the outside wall. And here comes the run by the 28 machine, able to hold off for second. And Sora luckily found that opening as Wilkes was not able to capitalize.
Yeah, not able to capitalize. And cuts good news for Vincent Sora there is he was able to, just hang on to third place. And these top four, Sam, kind of checked away, got a 2-second gap back to that of fifth place. That's Christopher Norris, who's got about a second gap back to that of Brandon Colley, Tom Sinchek, Aaron Kralik, and Zach Hall, who kind of all running with one another, running on top. And Ryan Bird, who's right there with them. And Bird, Sam, on that strategy of coming in right before we went back to green. So seeing how long he can run on this fuel run has caught up to this kind of second pack here and could really be saving some fuel with all the draft that he's got, or all the draft potential that he has in front of him.
And the rest of that group going to be led by Brad Dell from the third pack with Kyle Rochelle, Jonathan Cogswell, Thomas Walter, all just sitting back having their own run, just trying to save fuel. And I think that's the fun thing about all these different strategies is you have different mindsets on how you want to run this race, because for one of those drivers trying to save fuel and turn this race into a one-stop from here on out, you need to keep the pace up, because those other drivers that are ahead of you, they're pulling away, and at some point when they come into pit road, they're going to have fresher tires to catch up to you. As we look back to 15th, Larry Yingling, who went with the gutsy call, did not come to pit road to just top off on fuel, decided to just stay out on track. Well, he's closing in on when he's going to have to come into pit road.
Yeah, it should be here in that of the next 2 laps or so for Larry to come down, bring that 67 machine down pit road for his first pit stop of the night. So interesting to see how his strategy is going to work out. I think he's kind of behind the 8 ball here with everybody else's on board here with, I believe, James Hackworth Jr. here, who's all the way back in 17th position, Sam. And again, on that same strategy as Brad Delph, Rochelle, Cogswell, and Ryan Bird, but just I think being a little bit more aggressive here with his fuel saving, as he's that of about 13 or 14 seconds behind those guys in front of him.
He's certainly someone that we're going to have to keep on note. If he's going to become our first driver to go a lap down, there's Tyler Dangler in the 19 machine, but we're going to have to pull away from the 19 because teammates are working up front. Cedric Hunter is under fire. A great run out of turn number 2 that set up the 15 to keep it side by side. Through that at turn 3, the draft help, a little bit of contact from side drafting, and Vincent Sora to the point, but here comes his teammate, going to be that of the 28 machine of Brian Johnson, and almost contact as there are 3 drivers on top of one another, and Chad Wilkes getting the best view of it all.
Yeah, Wilkes getting the best view of it, wasn't able to capitalize, but now we're going to look to the inside of the 28 of Brian Johnson. A little bit of bobbing and weaving from Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter. That could get dangerous. A little bit of a bump down into the tunnel turn, sends the 15 in a little deeper, I think, than he wanted to go, but does a good job holding on to it. Cedric Hunter now going to have to try to work really hard, Sam, to get this position back and get back into the lead, but the man who said he wasn't comfortable, I said it, give him a couple laps, he'll get up to the lead, and here we go again, Vincent Sora to the front.
I mean, is anyone surprised? Vinny is always so fast in that 15 machine. He just finds a way every week to be up front for a certain amount of laps. And once again, leading here tonight is Vincent Sora as the drivers for 3rd place. Chad Wilkes trying to conquer that of Brian Johnson, and Johnson just continues to hold steady.
Yeah, hold steady, pinches him down there really well. In turn number 1, going to have that run here out of turn 1. Going to have the help from the 13 in front of him to keep clear of the 12, and now those two are going to tuck back in line, see if they can push back up to the 13 and close in back to Vincent Sora and restart this battle all over again. Sora a little bit of a wiggle as he caught the apron in turn 2, but Johnson with a great run out of turn number 2, Sam. He's going to go on the offensive here and attack the 13 of Cedric Hunter down into turn number 3.
Going after Cedric Hunter, and Hunter, I mean, he is going to be the 1 versus 2. As will Vinny try to help out his teammate and drop low? Looks like no, he'll stay high. He'll give the draft assistance to that of Hunter and keeping his teammate back in 3rd. Interesting call as Vincent Sora continues to keep the lead. And I was looking back, I was curious to see, has Vincent Sora led every lap this season, at least at every track we've gone to this season? Turns out no. The one race he didn't lead at back at Daytona to start the season off. Kind of a shocker to see by the 15.
Yeah, I mean, we see him up front. I think he was running up front there at Daytona, just never got to the lead as that of Wilkes finally gets around the 28 of Brian Johnson. I mean, he was running near the front, Sam, just got caught up in a wreck, never had a chance to lead, but since that Daytona race, he has just been so consistent. Already has those 3 wins this season and looking good here now that he's in that clean air. Cedric Hunter starting to really kind of struggle in that 13 machine, and Chad Wilkes finally got around Brian Johnson. We'll see if he can get around that of Cedric Hunter and go up there and challenge Vincent Sora.
Take away that Daytona finish where he finished in 31st position. Vincent Sora has averaged a 4th place finish for those rest of those races. Crazy to look at the stats. Is that 15 looking for his 3rd championship in 3 seasons. We fall back though to 6th place. Actually for 5th, you got that of Brandon Colley, Christopher Norris leading Zach Hall, Tom Senchak, and this group goes all the way back to 10th place from 5th to 10th. Group of 6, keeping it close.
Yeah, keeping it close and almost a little bit of contact between those guys as Norris looks to go to the inside of Brandon Colley, but gonna have to ride in line. This might give Zach Hall a chance here to have a good run out of turn 2 to look to the inside of here in turn number 3, but instead it's gonna be Norris with a huge dive to the inside of the 1 of Brandon Colley. Zach Hall gonna follow suit to the inside line, see if he's gonna try to take this run to the outside once he comes off the corner. Norris thought about closing the gap, not enough room, almost made contact with both of them, so he's gonna have to give that spot up to Zach Hall. But right there, Sam, almost an instance where a driver tried to get back in line and almost took out 2 cars in one swipe.
I mean, you can see that was methodical by the 42. We saw the huge bump that he gave Christopher Norris that placed him in a spot where you kind of had to use that momentum. We talked about it. You have the momentum. You kind of have to utilize it when you have the time, which then forced the over-aggressive driving. And Zach Hall said, thank you very much. I'll take your spot for 6th. And now he's going to set up to go after his teammate, Brandon Colley, for 5th place. But Zach Hall looking good, 42. Trying to take it easy. He came into tonight as the points leader, and his teammate going to move to the side. Colley, a very bad exit out of the corner. And I don't know if he got into the wall, but that looked very close for the 1.
Yeah, I think he might have tagged it just a little bit and saw the closing right there was Zach Hall almost ran over the back of his teammate, but that allowed Norris to get to the inside of Colley, but Norris didn't get a great exit out of turn number 3, so Colley going to be able to hold on, so he just loses the 1 position after brushing the outside wall. But thankfully with these cars, Sam, compared to the old Gen 6 cars, You can get away with brushing the wall, and it's not going to completely ruin your race, but you don't want to do it too often, as it will eventually, or it could possibly break the toe link on your vehicle, which would be very detrimental for the rest of your race.
First green flag pit stop of the night made by Cedric Hunter, who was trying to keep for second place, not able to do so. Falls to fourth and decides, I'm just coming into pit road. Gutsy call for this early stop, but hey, I mean, Trevor, I think it might be an understanding. This race could turn into a two-stop, so let's go for the undercut.
Yeah, go for the undercut, get the fresh tires. I mean, he was really kind of starting to fall back after Vincent Sora got around him, so might have felt like he burned the tires up just a little bit too much. And why not try something different here? Get a little bit off strategy, see if you can, kind of bait everybody into coming into pit road to be on the same strategy as you, or if not, see if the strategy is going to work out for you in the long run.
Who else will follow in suit? I'm not expecting a lot of these other drivers really coming to pit road, at least not for another 5 more laps. So this early stop, I think for Cedric Hunter, he's got to hope that he's going to gain more time than those leaders that are just having just a little bit under a second fall off from their best time that last lap. You see the late apex drivers, Thompson, Chick, Ryan Bird, trying to figure out how to get by Christopher Norris.
Yeah, and this is the same exact position, same where we saw the late apex drivers of Simchek and Rochelle get together when they were trying to get around the 38 of Christopher Norris. So deja vu, just a different late apex driver. It's now Ryan Bird in the 49 instead of Rochelle behind that of Simchek. So we'll have to see if there's any friendly fire between the teammates this time as they try to get around that 38 machine.
How do you work as one? As you see all these drivers in line, the different pods of groups. This is currently on screen the second pack that we're looking at. Zach Hall leading this group in 42 with Brandon Colley as well as Christopher Norris with late apex behind them, and Aaron Krolick in the Tide 01 machine in front for the lead. A little bit of snaking action as Vincent Sora, Chad Wilkes, and Brian P. Johnson trying to react on how well they want to get through these straightaways, as Vincent Sora not want to give any advantage to the 12 machine on the straights.
Yeah, just trying to break that draft here. You'll see them snake down the straightaways, especially the front stretch, the Long Pond straightaway, going from the wall to the inside wall and then back to get to the corner exit, just trying to get any little bit of draft breakage that you can right here, though. So we're not going to be that aggressive with the snaking. Going to move down just a little bit to pull that 12 car down. Johnson kind of trying to figure out what he wants to do behind that of Wilkes. He's just going to tuck in line as those two try to work together to continue to close that gap. They were right on the bumper of Vincent Sora, but a bad run from both of them kind of has allowed Sora to pull away by about 3 or 4 car lengths.
Vincent Sora, if he's going to try to pull away, he's got to make sure that he's over a full second in difference. That is around the time that we start to see the draft not be as aggressively keeping these drivers close to one another, but the draft's still strong for that of Chad Wilkes. It continues to pull him closer and closer. We have our second driver coming into pit road. That's going to be Larry Yingling, who again did not come into pit road at our lap 10 caution, decided to stay out. And now the 67, 4 tires and fuel, about to get back out there on track.
He went a really long way there, Sam. I mean, even with that caution help, able to save enough fuel to make it that of 44 laps for himself. So really good job saving fuel. And Ryan Bird, Sam, in pit road. He was one of the drivers that came down pit road right before we went back to green. So he's down on pit road for what is essentially an early pit stop for himself.
Yeah, and this was kind of looking like that of Ryan Bird, not able to stay in the draft, save enough fuel, and seeing that his strategy was not going to work out. So let's get back on track with everyone else on what they were going to try to go for. And see if the 49 is going to work here, as our leaders yet to come into pit road, but they're starting to enter that zone that we talked about earlier when the drivers might be thinking about pit stops. They did have that caution. It might allow a lap or two to go a little bit further than what we've talked about. But I mean, Trevor, when you're the top 3, we've already seen one of our top 4 contenders, that of Cedric Hunter, coming to pit road, who Cedric is currently running a full second faster. As here comes another driver into pit road. That's Tom Sinchek, the other Lady Apex machine. Lady Apex, well known for coming into pit road earlier than everyone else when you look at a team group as a whole. But right now, Cedric Hunter's times are looking fantastic compared to our leaders at this moment. And when we see this pit cycle go through, it's going to be an interesting call on if Cedric Hunter can keep this gap for himself.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, he's going to be in the same situation on this next round of pit stops where he's going to have to pit early and then see if he can build enough of a gap with the difference in tires to be able to stay ahead of these guys once they make their pit stops. Because once these green flag pit stops cycle through, it's going to kind of be the reverse. Everybody's going to be that of about 0.5 to a second quicker than Cedric Hunter. So we'll see how his pit strategy works. But Sam, we're closing in about here in the next 2 to 3 laps. We should be seeing our leaders make their pit stops.
When and who will be the first of our top 3 as Zach Hall, Brandon Colley, they've broken away from that of Aaron Kralik and Christopher Norris. They're now going to be within 2.5 seconds of our lead pack. As look at some of the differences on times. Really, you can see here, Trevor, the fact that the drivers are trying their best to catch up to one another, but 5th, 6th, and 7th, big differences. It's really the lead driver that's just trying to pull everyone along.
Yeah, it's the lead driver that's got to kind of make this 2-car essentially tango work for you to be able to catch up to the guys in front of you. Can't get kind of checked up behind one another, as they've lost a lot of ground to that of Zach Hall and Brandon Colley up in front of them. So just trying to do everything they can to run back down those guys before this round of pit stops.
See this upcoming lap if there's any gain time, because of the fact that, again, this is 5th, 6th, and 7th. 5th place being that of Brandon Colley, who is trying to stay in the draft, and just no time being gained on that of Colley at all from Kralik or Norris. And the thing that's hurting them is Larry Yingling. Larry Yingling is shoving Zach Hall in these straightaways. He's got the fresher tires. And the 67 being more of the team factor right now of trying to close in the gap to allow Zach Hall to be in the picture to race for the win.
Yeah, I mean, Larry is a lap down. I mean, he fell so far back that when he made his green flag pit stops, went a lap down. The one thing here that we haven't touched on about Pocono pit stops here is you can pit under green and not go a lap down. But Larry, with those older tires, fell all that way, or fell that far back. But right now, trying to give a shove, like you said, to his teammate to try to close that gap in. About 2.7 seconds the gap between that of Zach Hall and Brian Johnson, that front pack. So a lot of work cut out for him. And while Larry's doing this, Sam, I mean, it's kind of hurting him as well, as he's not, gaining as much time on these guys as I'm sure he would like to.
Larry's the only driver 1 lap down at this current time, and when we see this whole entire pit cycle go through, he should be back on the lead lap. So I don't think there's any scare there. Larry knew he was off sequence once this race has been so green, so we'll see how well we get back into this run, as we are currently coming up, and we are actually past, the halfway marker. Do want to give more shout outs to the sponsors that we have here tonight. You see that of one of the drivers expecting to take the lead. It's Roasted Gems Racing, driver of Cedric Hunter. If you want to go get yourself some premium coffee, go to roastedgems.com to get Roasted Gems coffee today. Use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. As well, 3rd place runner, you see that orange, white, and teal. It's that of Brian P. Johnson in the Trophy Smack machine. Trophy Smack, it is the ultimate destination for custom championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. For that of the WSSR, Vincent Sora has won 2 custom rings from Trophy Smack. They are some of the best and coolest rings that you can see. And if you can go over to Twitter, you can see them now of Vinny having his 2 rings for himself. And you can get yourself custom products and custom trophies from Trophy Smack. Remember to use the promo code WSSR Cup. That's WSSR CUP for 10% off on any purchase at Trophy Smack. Thank you so much for the 2 major sponsors here at WSSR Cup Series, as the drivers getting ready, pit stops in the next 2 to 3 laps.
Yep, they're coming up and can't make that mistake, Sam. We saw it under caution about how bad that could hurt you with Brian Johnson and Brandon Colley. And Johnson was able to recover from that pit stop mistake, got up here into the lead pack. Colley not able to recover as well, as he's about 2.8 seconds back, but they're slowly, Sam, catching that lead pack as Zach Hall now cut that gap to about, cut it down 0.3 to about 2.3 seconds. So the pushing from his teammates really kind of working out for him as they close in. But you make a mistake here under green, it can really cost you any chance, especially if you're in that top 5, to have any chance of winning this. A speeding penalty, sliding through your box, anything like that. So drivers going to have to be on their toes and be ready when they come down pit road.
And coming into pit road, I mean, Trevor, that caution was such an optimal time for it to come out for these drivers, because Vincent Sora now if he can go 2 more laps, he could be in a spot to try to turn this race into a one-stop. But over the radio, it sounds like he's coming into pit road this time. Brandon Conley just came into pit road, which no is showing. Drivers that came in that lap before we went green, they could be in the spot to make it to the end on this one-stop, while everyone else, I think it was just a little bit stuttery and floating on edge.
This is looking like it's going to be a fuel mileage race for these guys that might be able to stretch it to make this a one-stop. Other guys that might have to come in, do that splash of fuel, and go. This is going to get really interesting if this race stays green, how this is all going to play out. I mean, you look there at Delph, Cogswell, Rochelle. I mean, those guys that came in right before we went back green. As Sora's on pit road, that of Chad Wilkes is on pit road, trying to get blown up as they make that hard left-hand turn ahead of turn number 3. If those guys can run a couple more laps, Sam, I think they're going to be in a really good position to maybe sneak away a win here on fuel mileage.
As Brian P. Johnson stays out for another lap, and you might be curious, how are they able to go an extra lap more than Vincent Sora others? The reasoning why, they were in the draft longer. They were settling in behind the other drivers and not being as aggressive on trying to be the lead driver, because lead driver using more fuel on the straightaways and through the corners, and the 28 able to go that extra distance. This could be enough on the fuel, as Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, as well as Christopher Norris, Brad Delph, Jonathan Cogswell, Tyler Dangler, those 6 drivers look to be in the good if they can just get to pit road, as here comes the 28 for his stop.
Yeah, Johnson down pit road. That is Sora. Everybody else off pit road. Zach Hall going to come down pit road as well, with that of Johnson Norris in pit road. So that's going to hand the lead over to, I believe, the 14 of Delph. But no, Delph down pit road. So he's not feeling like he can go a little bit longer on fuel. As well, Cogswell also in pit road.
And Tyler Dangler going to be the last driver that has to come to pit road. And he found his marker. I mean, I'm not surprised. This was the window lap. Coming to lap 53 was the lap for these drivers that said, yes, I can make it from here. So I'm not surprised by seeing all those drivers that came across the line. But there are 4 drivers in an absolute, they have to pit one more time. And it's the leader currently, Cedric Hunter, Ryan Bird, as well as Tom Sinchek, and as well going to be seeing those 3 drivers in a must pit stop, as well as that of the 67 of Larry Yingling, that have to come to pit road one more time. 100% sure they cannot make it, but the rest of the field, some are in the good, others could be 1 lap, potentially 2 laps short.
And this is going to be really, really good, Sam. This pit strategy could really shake this race up. I mean, Cedric Hunter, you can see how much the undercut really worked out for him. Has a 6-second gap back to Ryan Bird, 7 to Tom Sinchek and Vincent Sora. But, I mean, now's the issue for him is looking at his lap times compared to what those guys are, who are going to be on that of about almost 8 to 9 lap difference in tires between when Hunter came in and everybody else. I mean, they're going to kind of be in the same boat that he was when he was on fresh tires.
And as that major difference on tires is showing, fuel, once again, 4 drivers for sure have to come to pit road. Tom Sinchek, Ryan Bird, Cedric Hunter, and as well the 67 of Larry Yingling in a must pit stop mode. They have to come into pit road, but they've been trying to save the best that they can for the 49 and the 8, but it's kind of a losing battle for themselves because they've already been caught by the drivers that all they need to do just sit in the wake of the 8 in the 49, and they could save enough fuel to make it to the end for that of Vincent Sora and Chad Wilkes.
Yeah, this could work out really well for both of them, having the tow of Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek. Could allow them to save enough fuel to make it to the end. But, you know, we've said that, and we saw that Brian Johnson and Zach Hall were able to go, you know, a lap later than that of Sora and Wilkes as they were battling up front. It could be interesting, Sam, if this draft help that Sora's going to have, or if he's backing his pace down, trying to make sure that he saves enough fuel to be able to make it to the end.
And drivers that were able to extend their fuel, and they might not have to be as aggressive on the fuel saving. The 28 of Brian P. Johnson, who's just that of a second back off of Chad Wilkes and Vincent Sora. His green light to take off could be sooner than the 12 and the 15, and he is just inside of the wake of catching their draft and getting that major tow. So we've got 3 drivers going to be right on top of one another. And Zach Hall, as well as Brandon Colley, they're trying to catch up. Colley, though, old tires, slight damage, the one struggling, and Hall trying his best to close him into the gap. All different strategies have been building up. We still got plenty of more racing time to go as Vincent Sora trying to set up this pass. Chad Wilkes just going to be settling in. He already came over the radio and said, I'm just going to wait and see wherever you go. The 12 seems to be in a better saving mode to take off. We are going to step aside. You will not have missed a thing as we go side by side. You are watching the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series for that of the K. Franks Enterprise 225 here at Pocono Raceway. We'll be right back on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the rest of the Pocono race.
The best, you got him for a rest. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
He's following, they're wrecking, they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for 5th. Oh my. 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, they're wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall, gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron, drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside, trying to get the win, and it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is going to steal the win here.
He went second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from our side-by-side commercial break as we are here with the WSSR Roast Gems Cup Series, race number 8 of the season, as this is the K. Franks Enterprise 225 at Pocono Raceway. Currently, Cedric Hunter leading the charge, but gonna have to come into pit road at some point before this race is done. Brian Johnson in the good to make it to the end as long as he finds a way to save just a little bit of fuel. Everyone else in the field, plenty of different strategies. We'll touch on those in a quick moment because we got to give some more shout outs to these amazing sponsors for the WSSR. One being the title sponsor. They've been here for the last couple of seasons. It's Roasted Gems. For that of Roasted Gems coffee, go head over to roastedgems.com to go get your hands on some premium quality coffee today. And while you're purchasing, remember to use the code WSSR for 5% off. Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack. We have not had our Trophy Smack wall smack moment just yet. We've seen a couple of drivers hit the wall, but we've got a feeling there might be a big one brewing up. And what is a wall smack, you might be asking? Well, it is a quality high gloss metalwork that allows you to customize completely with their wall safe magnet mounting system. It allows you to upload any picture you want, if that's a meme, if that's a company logo, or for most of these drivers, they've gotten themselves some wall smacks. It is their victory machine of when they win at a race. Go get yours today, a wall smack from Trophy Smack. Use our promo code WSSR Cup for 10% off on your wall smack and all other purchases. And as well, big shout out. The beginning of the year, we had our charity event, and we've got our second one of the year. It's the Gamers Outreach for that of our own custom, that of a Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. But the fun twist, it's the Gen 4 Cup cars. More horsepower, more excitement, and it is coming up here quickly in just a few months. If you want to be a part of this, well, we're about to be putting out our link, but just to let you know, we do have our second charity event of the year coming out quickly. This one's going to be a fun one. We got the Gen 4 Cup cars and Trevor. I can't wait to see for 600 miles slipping and sliding.
600 miles, slipping and sliding, high horsepower, low downforce. I mean, it's going to be a blast. Sam cannot wait for that event. It's going to be so much fun to take part in, be a part of. So definitely one you do not want to miss out on.
Yeah, I mean, you were a part of this last one, helping out with commentary. Now going to be a driver, and the date, June 10th, is our date for that event. As we're starting to see some drivers getting some more action, battling side by side. This is for 5th place. Brandon Colley trying to get by Tom Sinchek. Zach Hall going to be trying to help suit as well. And Ryan Bird saying, hey, I'm going to pick the lane that's moving faster. Is the 49 going to stay in line with the freaking fast team?
Yeah, to fall in line, trying to see if he can get around his teammate. Tom Sinchek used a little bit of draft help here from Zach Hall and that of Brandon Colley to see if they can get by that of Sinchek and Sam. There it is. Cedric Hunter hitting on for his second pit stop. That 2-stop strategy for the 13 machine coming down pit road for his final pit stop of the race.
And here's the thing, for Cedric Hunter coming into pit road, they're about to be 3 wide here for that of now 4th place, as they are getting very aggressive here. Other drivers having issues. Aaron Kralik calling it a night. We got to talk to the driver right before the race started. He has manually disconnected, so obviously there was something going on his side. He has to leave the race for the 0-1. We're now down to 16 drivers out on track, but Cedric Hunter's pit stop, an interesting call, had to pit earlier than when his first stop was. Reason why? He's got to build up this gap so that if there is drivers running out of fuel, if they have to come to pit road, he can gain those positions quickly.
Yeah, it is go mode for that of the 13 machine to get through all these guys in front of him as quickly as you can. Got to start off by getting around the 04 of Thomas Walter. That's going to be for 13th position, but cannot afford to be easy, Sam. He's got to try to close as much of a gap as he can on that of Brian Johnson, Vince Sora, Chad Wilkson, Zach Hall.
As they continue to race on, I'm looking back to see if there's a reason for the 0-1, just calling it a race, and it looked to be internet reasons on why. He was having some bad connection issues, looked to be put himself into the outside wall, and just called it a night. You hate to see that for a driver that was aiming for a top 10 finish here this evening, but here's the one machine of Brandon Colley as he's trying to stay in touch with Zach Hall, the 4th and 5th place runners. Currently going to be about 3.5 seconds off of our leaders. As for Zach Hall, he should be one of those drivers in the good on fuel. Same with our leader of Brian P. Johnson. It's that of Brandon Colley, though, expected to be 1 to 2 laps off. And here comes the 49. Another one of those drivers that 100% had to come to pit road. It's Ryan Bird. The other 2 drivers going to be that of Tom Senchek and Larry Yingling that still need to come to pit road one more time.
Yeah, waiting to see when those two decide to come down for their last pit stop and what's going to happen with our leaders. I mean, Zach Hall, Brandon Colley, we're catching that of Wilkes, Sora, and Johnson, and then kind of backed off here a little bit. So interesting to see if maybe felt like they hadn't saved enough fuel and need to save a little bit more, as those 3 now all nose to tail up front, trying to see what they can do and how comfortable are they going to be on fuel, Sam, as we continue to just click these laps away.
Ryan Bird taking off. If you're just joining us now, as we're coming up to 20 laps to go here this evening, Brian Johnson leading the way. He was our pole sitter here tonight. Took him a couple of laps before he could finally lead his first lap of the evening, but this 28 has been trying to work off the odd strategies to get himself up front. Was one of the last drivers to come into pit road, and this 28 looks great here tonight to go for the victory. We've got plenty of drivers on different strategies. We've had one yellow that was back on lap 10, and Trevor, gotta say, the 28 looks good, but I'm in a concerned spot for him due to the fact that he is leading this group, and he might have to save about a lap or so, but being the lead driver, that's not helping his cause.
Yeah, not helping his cause is going to be the car that's breaking all the air, using more fuel to do so. But, maybe felt like when he was behind everybody else, saved that perfect number for himself to make it to the end. So might feel like, hey, I'd rather have this clean air and not burn up the right front tire riding around behind somebody. That way I'm able to defend if I need to from any attacks later in this race, knowing that he might have the fuel to make it.
Does he have the fuel? As Vincent Sora, Chad Wilkes going to be behind him, the 12. One of these drivers looking for a solid run here tonight. Chad Wilkes is going to be his 4th start of the season. His best finish was back at Lucas Oil, where he's hoping to find some great speed like he did there. And I got to say, for some of these drivers that are having their best runs of the season, fuel strategy always seems to bring out that best of life for themselves. As I want to take that back. Best finish for that of the 12 machine was actually back at that of the Twin Ring GP. 4th place finish there, as the 12 currently in 3rd place, but could be in a spot to maybe take 2nd as Johnson continues to try to pull away.
Yeah, just been quietly stalking that of Vincent Sora ever since their green flag pit stop on that of lap 51. Those two have been basically nose to tail since then, just trying to follow one another. And Chad was able to drive by that of Brian Johnson, drove up to the back of Vincent Sora, wasn't able to get around him. But I feel like maybe Sam just trying to save a little bit of tire, maybe to mount a charge late in this race when he has the opportunity to do so. So might be a smart move from him just to kind of follow that 15 machine around.
It might be, as we are closing in on the final stages of this regular season. After tonight, we got 3 more races before we get our 16 drivers that are in the top 16 in points. There is no win in your in system for the WSSR this season. Top 16 in points get to make it into the chase, as they will have themselves a 5-race chase where there is no rounds. It is just based off those 5 races who will win the championship. And this 14, as well as the 27 you see on screen, 2 drivers that are battling to keep themselves inside of the top 16 in points with Brad Delph and Jonathan Cogswell. Cogswell, one of those drivers that's just on the brink, came in tonight 18th in points, but luckily some of the drivers he needs to beat out are not here. Bob Skinner, 17th in points, not here. Steven Stimpian missing out on tonight's race. Same for that of James Kaufman, that are inside of our top 16. So Jonathan Cogswell has a big opportunity to crack into our top 16 after tonight.
Yeah, it's nights like these when you're outside that top 16 in points, when drivers in front of you don't show up, that you need to maximize and get the most out of it that you can. And right now, running inside the top 10 for Cogswell's doing a great job of doing so. And Sam, if he's on that pit strategy to go a little bit longer, and I believe he came down the same time as Zach Hall and Brian Johnson, he could gain a couple more positions as drivers in front of him have to make pit stops toward the end. As Tom Sinchak, one of those other drivers that we knew for sure had to make a pit stop, brings that 8 machine down pit road.
And the last driver that's on that must pit stop is going to be the 67 of Larry Yingling, who is going to move up to that of 9th place. Brendan Lee coming to pit road is going to be a big question to watch out for, as Larry has had a very different type of a night than what we've seen these last couple of weeks when he first joined this season. The previous 2-time champ of the early years of the WSSR. Larry has been trying to learn this Gen 7 Cup car, and tonight just has not looked like he's figured it out. He has been off the off strategy, and so we've never seen a true equal stage of what Larry has compared to the rest of the field. So tonight, just been an odd one with 16 laps to go.
Yeah, it didn't have a good qualifying run for himself. Qualified back in 14th position, decided to stay out when we had that early caution at lap 10, so put him on a really kind of awkward pit schedule compared to everybody else on track. So haven't, like you said, got to see what speed that 67 has. But I mean, up into 8th position, Sam, even on this off strategy, we know he has to make one more pit stop and could gain a couple positions at the end if drivers in front of him sputter out of fuel.
And sputtering could be the thing to watch out for. Drivers that are on the question mark, can they make it on fuel? Vincent Sora, Chad Wilkes going to be in first and second. Then you fall back to 5th place. Brandon Colley is probably the biggest question mark when you look at the rest of the field. Brad Delp is in a question mark spot, as well as Kyle Rochelle, Thomas Walter. How well can they push those fuel and tires to the very end of this race? They are, all those drivers I just listed, going to be in about a 2 to a 3 lap shortage on fuel. Question is, have they saved enough being in the draft? I think for Vincent Sora and Chad Wilkes, 2nd and 3rd, I think they're in the best spot for themselves. A lot of other drivers, though, that are in extreme save mode, and we just saw there for a quick moment Cedric Hunter on the move for the 13, who pitted extremely early, recognizing he's got to gain any position he can at this point.
Yeah, got to get everything he can, Sam, up to 10th right now, but that of 37 seconds behind Brian Johnson. I mean, that is a monumental gap, definitely needing those guys to either make a pit stop or run out of fuel, but working his way through as quickly as he can. Looking at his lap times, though, Sam, only that of about 4/10 quicker that last time by. His lap time started to click in, though, than our race leaders.
Yeah, and I think for race leaders, for Brian Johnson, he's got to keep up the pace that he's at. Here's going to be the one of Brandon Colley, who's in 5th place and is lonesome, nowhere to be found. This could be a plus and also could be a minus if you look at the different strategies that this puts that of this Dutch Bros machine. He's got no one to draft it and use in front, but behind he's got a big enough gap that luckily he can back off on pace and should be all right. As Larry Yingling, 14 laps to go, he comes into pit road for his final time.
Yeah, and that just leaves actually that should complete everybody who needed to make their final pit stop, or that we think needs to make their final pit stop. Is Larry brings that 67 down pit road here. Cedric Hunter still working his way through the field. Zach Hall here, same kind of in the same spot. Brandon Colley is 6 seconds back from Chad Wilkes. That of 4 seconds back to Brandon Colley. So kind of in no man's land for Zach. So can kind of run his own pace. If it feels like he needs to save a little bit of fuel to make it to the end, can do so, and doesn't have to worry about battling for position.
Battling for position, but again, just trying to run your own race, survive the best that you can. A lot of these drivers pretty spaced out from one another. Here's Christopher Norris in 6th place. And with the field being only 16 drivers out on track on a 2.5-mile course, I mean, Trevor, this is one of those moments where if you are next to someone, you've probably been next to them all race, because it is very easy to split off once we get to this aspect of the race, having one green flag pit cycle all the way through, and drivers having their mistakes on pitting, and also just different ways to gap one another. Caution could be very rare to see, almost improbable to see here tonight with 12 laps to go.
Yeah, with how spaced out everybody's gotten here, Sam, between all the pit stop cycle, you're kind of, like you mentioned, you've been battling the same cars pretty much all night long, as you've been around one another all night long, and the gaps just kind of differ based off of how your pit stops go. But with it being this spaced out, like the cautions will be hard to come by. I mean, it could happen. We could see somebody, get a little bit loose, getting aggressive on corner exit or something like that. Or, if Sora and Brian Johnson gets battling up here, Chad Wilkes has lost the draft from these guys, falling to about a second behind these two. If they get to battle and Chad Wilkes gets up there, I mean, contact could be made. You never know what could happen here in these last 11 laps.
I mean, Chad Wilkes backing off. He could be hoping to see our front two maybe get a little bit more aggressive. But their teammates, you'd think they would try to keep themselves out of trouble, but we've already seen some friendly fire from late Apex. And with that, Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, who knows? They could try to, outrace one another to a point where they could run out of fuel. And it's Chad Wilkes who's back off. That could be in a better spot with 11 laps to go. Again, fuel is not 100% at this point. Not every driver is saved enough to make it to the end. We expect that these drivers could be in a good spot, but for Vincent Sora and Chad Wilkes, they have to save a little bit more than Brian Johnson. Johnson still needs to save, but the way he's been driving, it's almost like we've noted on, he's hit his number. He feels good to be the leader and being aggressive as we're coming to 10 laps to go. It's difficult to say, Trevor, on who's in the better strategy, because that looming thought of who could run out of fuel is going to be there until the very end.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lap times, and that of Wilkes and Zach and Brandon Colley all in the 55s, low to mid 55s. Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, the 54.6s. So definitely backed off the pace as Chad Wilkes and Zach Hall saving fuel. I would have to guess is the two of our two leaders aren't saving any, maybe knowing that they have to come down for a splash of fuel, and then that brings back into play the 13 of Cedric Hunter. But I mean, he's only gained in the last 3 laps, Sam, about a second on our race leaders, and if they just have to come down for that of a second or 2 seconds of fuel, Cedric could be really just not gaining the positions that I think he thought the strategy was going to get him.
I think also for Cedric Hunter, he was just hoping to try something different. Maybe he would see a lot more drivers run out of fuel, but it is not looking great. Last lap gain of almost 2/10 was Cedric Hunter on our leaders, but the ultimate gap, 3 of almost 35 seconds, is just massive to look at. 9 laps to go. Who has got the fuel? Who do you think, who's watching right now and is in chat, who do you have that you think has the fuel to make it to the end? Again, Vincent Sora, the 12 of Chad Wilkes, and add to that of Brandon Colley in a very tough spot to be, where they need to save at least 2 to 3 laps of fuel to make it to the end of this run. Out of Brian Johnson, all he needs to do is save 1 lap and he's good. And it's 2.5 miles. It's a lot of fuel you got to worry about with these long stretches of straightaway. You've only got 3 corners to find a way to save fuel.
Yeah, 3 corners to find a way, but thankfully with how long those corners are, really easy to clutch and save. But for Brian Johnson, can't really do any saving, Sam, because he's got his teammate right there just hounding him, making him go at full tilt, while that of Chad Wilkes has gotten to fall back to now 3 seconds behind our leaders. He's saving the fuel to make it to the end, and it just begs the question, are these two gonna make it? Does Sora feel like he's saved enough? I mean, he's had the draft help now of Brian Johnson, since that pit stop. Johnson was able to drive back by those guys after about 5 or 6 laps, so he's been in tow of his teammate. So maybe he's saved enough fuel in that draft. It's going to be so interesting now as we're coming to that of 7 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, for Vincent Sora, touching more on that, he had the tow of even the late Apex drivers before they had to come into pit road, then let Johnson go on by, and it's just a 1 lap difference on when drivers came into pit road. But that 1 lap, massive when you look at the full scale. That is a difference of practically, when you add both pit cycles, of 5 miles that you're trying to save on fuel for Vincent Sora to make it to the end. But Brian Johnson just hoping that he can hit his marks on that first cycle, that he can make it to the end. Coming up is going to be a lot of real aggressive thoughts. Do you want to be aggressive if you're Vincent Sora, or are you hoping that you've just pressured enough on your teammate to have the fuel to make it to the end?
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do here, maybe feeling like he's saved enough, and maybe forcing Brian Johnson to run harder than he wants, trying to run his teammate out of fuel without being aggressive, trying to get these passes done. So this could be playing into his strategy. Just force your teammate out of gas, get him when he sputters, or they both feel like, hey, we've got enough, we can race this out to the end, and Sora just trying to do what he can to get by this 28 machine.
If the stress and anxiety is too much here tonight, don't worry. It's going to ramp up even more in the next 3 weeks. Next week, Talladega for 100 laps to see who is going to win at the wild card race and potentially get their first win in WSSR history. After that, the drivers head to Charlotte to the Roval for 40 laps and finishing off the regular season to set the stage for 16 drivers that will battle for a championship. They head to USA Speedway, the short track, 200 laps in. I'm more excited for that one. The season finale, Trevor, should be a blast to watch as tonight, 6 more laps to go.
Yeah, the short track at USA is going to be a blast of a race to watch. I mean, we're going to see beating and banging, drivers leaning on one another, especially when you get around that bubble position of 16th in points, drivers trying to make it in on points. That can get really exciting as well. So that is good. I'm with you. As much as I like Talladega and kind of the wild card that it brings, I think USA is going to be equally as big of a wild card, and we could see really aggressive racing for that event. As Vincent Soro, Sam, looking for the lead here in turn number 1.
Looking for the lead, trying to stay low on that yellow line is going to be the 15 of Vincent Sora, with Johnson stays high, close to the wall, keeps the momentum. Sora, though, has the slight draft, trying to get the quarter panel to side draft to slow down the 28. As here we go, side by side for the lead, the first time in a couple of laps. Contact, a little bit of door banging into the tunnel turn. How did they hold on? I don't know. And Johnson keeps the lead. That's the first attack of how many?
Yeah, first attack, first attempt, and already contact between the teammates. Once again, we've seen it. Teammates, getting into one another. They did a great job, though, hanging on to it. That is not one of the corners that you want to really make contact in. Sort did a great job saving that. Now mounting up for another attack here out of turn number 3. He's got the run down the front straightaway. Will he look to the inside in turn number 1? He's thinking about it, but no, going to tuck in line, follow his teammate down here into turn number 1.
The different strategies that we've seen so far this evening, it's been you go inside and you try to hold you steady, you gas it up, and try to force the driver to the outside to let off because you get too close to the outside wall. Another tactic is to give a big bump to the driver in front of you entering the corners to make them have too much speed where they have to back up. Your ultimate goal is to force the driver in front of you to make a mistake so you can make the pass. And when it's a mano-a-mano race like this and there's no other drivers to help with the draft assistance, it's more so the lead driver that, Trevor, it seems like, is in the disadvantage if you're going full bore. But again, we're coming to 3 laps to go. Who's got the fuel as they're coming almost side by side, coming to the line?
Who's got the fuel? Who's got the tires to make these moves stick? It's going to be Vincent Sora, though, to the inside, the side draft of his teammate down the front straightaway. Got the momentum going down in here to turn number 1. Can Brian Johnson hold it to the outside, get that run back on him down the long pond straightaway to defend this position? Johnson's going to drive it in deep on the outside, pinch his teammate down to the inside line. And Sam, I think he's going to be able to hold this off on the corner exit, has that little bit of momentum, but Vincent Sora is still there, still using that side draft halfway down the straightaway, heading to turn number 2.
Johnson needed to be fully clear. The side draft, when you get your front bumper to the outside quarter panel, is what's giving Vincent Sora this advantage on the straightaways, keeping it side by side. It's a drag race down the short chute, down into turn number 3. Sora not feeling confident about this race. Brian Johnson got the pole. Thought tonight was his night to get into victory lane once again, like he did at the start of the season. As they're side by side at turn number 3, coming to 2 laps to go. It is completely almost door banging on the straightaway.
They've been side by side for the entirety of that last lap. They're going to try it all over again here down into turn number 1, the same position we were in last time. Johnson again going to drive it in deep, try to use that outside line to carry that momentum, and this time does a really good job all the way through the center of the corner. Gets a little bit tight though. Vincent Sora is going to be there again. Sam gets to that rear quarter panel, getting that side draft help, and he's going to be side by side again down the straightaway. Almost a little bit of contact made as these two again aggressively draft one another heading into the tunnel turn.
Into the tunnel turn, keeping it close, almost contact once again on the entry. It's Vincent Sora, the better run off the exit of turn 2, but they still keep it side by side into turn number 3 for that of the second to last opportunity for Vincent Sora. How many more chances does he have? Will it just keep it side by side, be the best run that he needs as they're coming out of turn number 3? The white flag up in the air. It's official. It is time for these drivers to have themselves a good run as it's the Roasted Gems Coffee white flag. Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson, that last time across the line, give the advantage to Brian Johnson by 13 thousandths of a second, but at turn number 1, Vincent Sora once again trying to get to the quarter panel.
Are they both going to have enough gas to get back to the line? Sam, that's the question. Sora didn't get a great exit out of turn number 1 down this long pond straightaway. Not going to have that side draft help to get side by side, to be side by side with Brian Johnson. Gives him a little bit of a shot into turn number 2. Backs it up. See if he can get the crossover move. Get the run out of turn 2 down the short chute. Johnson with a little bit of a wiggle. Here comes Vincent Sora in the 15 machine. He's going to throw it to the inside, maybe down here into turn number 3. Sam, this might be his last attempt.
Vincent Sora, one last bump, one last exit. Brian Johnson trying to defend. The sun comes out, the flashing of the lights. Here comes Vincent Sora to the inside, but it's not enough. Brian Johnson wins here at Pocono.
What a great battle there between teammates. Sam, that was 3 laps. Those drivers were both side by side for the entirety almost of those last 3 laps. Johnson with the better exit out of turn number 1 on the white flag lap gets it done here tonight, but what a heck of a battle between those two.
A mile-and-a-half racetracks give out the glory as Brian Johnson won back at Daytona, and he'll take Pocono here this evening. Pitted a lap later, had the fuel, had the tires, and that is your TrophySmack.com winning moment for the 28 Trophy Smack machine. Johnson, once again, his 2nd win of the season. And for Trophy Smack, that's going to be another good one to have on their wall with another Trophy Smack to be added.
Yeah, the second win of the season for Brian Johnson. You could, I mean, that side by side moment, Sam, that'd make a great photo for a wall smack from Trophy Smack. I mean, so hey, Johnson might have himself another one to hang up to go with his Daytona win.
Well, he's going to have a fun smoke show as the 28 gets to burn it down. We will step aside when we come back. We'll talk to our top 2 and a spotlight driver to get their thoughts on how tonight was ran. But man, what an incredible race at the end. We'll be right back for the post-race show. What a finish that we got to see here tonight for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series for the K Franks Enterprise 225 at Pocono Raceway. Brian Johnson, Vincent Sora, the teammates side by side across the line. It was 37 thousandths of a second, and give that victor to the 28 machine of the Trophy Smack machine of Brian P. Johnson. Brian, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. You got us?
Sure do.
Well, the Trophy Smack machine is back into victory lane for the second time this season. That was a great duel from our point of view to watch. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, I'm I'm pretty wore out. When you got a long run like that and Vincent Soares behind you and right on your tail, it's the only thing you got in your brain is the Jaws theme going on. And I knew eventually he was going to start making moves. He was just waiting for the right time. And but I also knew that I kind of had the upper hand because he had to pass me, and passing tonight was incredibly difficult. So I was like, as long as I don't make any major mistakes, then I should be good, and we'll battle it to the line. And that's what we did, and I beat him to it.
Brian, we were talking throughout the broadcast. We're thinking that fuel might be an issue for you guys with the fuel run and being out front. I mean, did it ever cross your mind that fuel might be an issue for you in that last run?
Yeah, for sure. I knew that it was going to be very close, and that's why I did that extra lap. I went as far as I could before I had to make that green flag pit stop, so that I would be as close as possible. I think Chad was a little bit short, so he had to save, and then Vinny was he had run out not far past the checkered flag, but I still had uh I think I had like point 0.4 gallons coming to the checkered, so I had just under another lap. So it definitely was very close, but I wasn't I wasn't actively saving or anything.
Well, Brian, it still was a fantastic finish at the end. Plenty of fuel for you to do at least a little bit of burnouts there. But we're now heading to a super speedway. Last time we were at one, you found yourself in a victory lane. What is the confidence level now heading into these final three races of Talladega, the Charlotte Roval, and also the short track at USA Speedway?
Well, I guess we'll work backwards. USA is short track. I'm usually pretty good at short tracks. Never driven the next gen at that track, but um, a very familiar track to everybody. But so I'm hoping to do good there. And then the Roval, I think well, it was at the road course at Montegi. Finished second, pretty close to the leader there. Vinny was leading, but had gotten unfortunately got entangled with a lap car. So when it comes to the road course, I think top three is definitely in the cards, but gonna have to watch out for guys like Vinny and Zach as well, because they're pretty fast. And then Talladega next week, who knows? I won Daytona, but that was definitely out of sheer luck. You can't always have the whole field wreck behind you, and and then win the race. So hopefully maybe it works out like that, but probably not. Maybe maybe we'll get caught up in one. Who knows? But yeah, Talladega. It's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be very stressful.
Well, I can't wait to see how next week handles. But tonight, thanks for the great aggressive racing there at the end. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
I just gotta shout out everybody that tuned in. Hope it was a good show for y'all. And then you guys at Freaky Fast as always do a great job. And then all the admins here and all the league drivers, couldn't do it without them. Roasted Jim's Coffee and Trophy Smack. It's good to put the Trophy Smack Toyota Camry back in victory lane. It's been a few races. I was hoping to get a few more for him, but didn't work out like that, but we got one tonight for him, so that's pretty cool. And then, to all of our first responders and our troops out there, give a shout out to them as always. And that's all I got.
Well, that is going to be the 28 machine of Brian P. Johnson coming away with the win here at Pocono. Congratulations. Enjoy this one, and good luck next week.
Thank you, sir.
As we go from victory lane, let's talk to second place finisher. That's going to be the 15 of Vincent Sora. As we bring in Vinny in the 15. Vinny, I mean, you come away second. You have tried almost every move possible there at the end to get to victory lane. But man, how are you feeling after that performance?
I honestly feel pretty good just because of how fun of a battle that was with Brian and I, which it seems like Brian and I don't really get to battle it out for race wins that often because just strategies aren't alike or just whatever falls at the end of the race. Him and I never really seem to be able to battle it out. So it's pretty cool. I love racing with Brian. I know we're gonna race really hard and really clean, and I just respect Brian a lot on here. And he taught me a lot, and it's just really fun to get to race for race wins with him and to do it that close and not wreck each other and have a good clean finish is pretty awesome.
I mean, Vincent, that last lap we saw going into turn one, Brian able to clear you, and that kind of I felt like didn't give you another opportunity to get by him as you weren't able to get the side draft. I mean, was there anything else you could have done that last lap or into turn one that could have kept you side by side with Brian?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just needed to be a little bit more aggressive getting back onto the throttle in one because I knew if I could stay on his left rear, I'd get the really good side draft and I'd be able to pull him back going down Long Pond. And it would be really hard for me to pass him in the tunnel turn, which I don't think would have been realistic. So just to stay on his left rear and just have him wash up out of three was what I was hoping would happen. But once I realized I wasn't going to hang it on his left rear out of one, I just tried to tuck in line. I didn't want to move him. Uh, but I just wanted to set him up going into three and try to get under his left rear. And I actually did coming out of the corner, but it was just too late. So I don't really know how much more I could have done. He on the outside, I feel like was a lot more dominant than I was. So yeah, I don't know. This maybe set up the pass out of one a little bit better.
I mean, Vinny, you certainly looked strong at moments here tonight. We thought you might have had a chance, but was there anything tonight that kind of was shocking to you or different than what you were expecting from this track?
Not really. It was pretty much the same as what we've seen for the last 4 or 5 years, at least for me on here. Just kind of one groove for passing, really hard to pass, and just kind of you want to keep that draft ahead of you and not lose and get separated from the cars ahead because you really want to stay with that lead pack because that draft is super strong. So yeah, not really anything super surprising. It just took me a little bit to get a grasp on the car and figure out what it needed from me as the driver.
Well, second place is what you got, almost able to take that win. Congratulations on that top three finish. Before we let you go, Vinny, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, first off, obviously Brian for that really hard, clean race. So congrats to him on the win. All of our league sponsors make this possible. Freaky Fast Broadcasting and you guys for broadcasting. All my personal sponsors, my team at Category 5 Esports, and Tom Sinchek for painting the beautiful race car that you see on track every week.
Well, that is going to be the 15 machine of Vincent Sora. Congratulations on second, and good luck into next week.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good one. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter as well. As we go from second place, let's go to third, where we're going to be talking to that of Chad Wilkes, who's had his best finish of the season so far in that Nickelodeon's machine. Chad, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. Congratulations on third place. How are you feeling after that performance here tonight?
Yeah, thanks. Feel good, I guess. I wish I would have been a little bit smarter. I don't race races this long very often, so kind of screwed up on the field a little bit. I was pushing when I didn't necessarily need to at the beginning of that last run and had to save at the end.
I mean, Chad, we've seen you have speed in qualifying. Haven't necessarily gotten the results. Had a good finish last week. This week, a third place for you. I mean, how are you feeling so far? I know you've only run a couple of races, but it's starting to feel like you're building a little bit of momentum here going into these next three races.
Yeah, I wish I could have qualified tonight. My VR messed up right before qualifying and couldn't qualify. I think I'd had a good shot of being close to the front. Yeah, I think qualifying definitely seems to be what I'm good at in these cars. I haven't done any leagues or anything with this specific car ever. But it definitely seems like qualifying is my strong suit. So just got to get better at all the, I don't know, intangible things like paying attention to fuel and all that kind of stuff. I think if I can do that every week that I run, I'll probably, hopefully, get a little bit better each time and not screw up like I did 2 weeks ago when I was leading and wrecked out from the lead.
We're hoping that that doesn't happen again. But Chad, looking at the points, it's a very much a long shot of seeing you make it into the playoffs, into the top 16 in points. But if we do see other drivers miss out on making it, how do you feel like you'd be able to perform if you are able to make into the playoffs in 3 weeks?
I mean, I think that there's definitely like seems to be a group of guys that are definitely better during the race than I am. Brian and Vincent being two of them. I think I can probably qualify with them just about anywhere. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to win the championship or anything yet. I think hopefully if I can get some time to do this more consistently and practice a little bit more, I might would be able to get up there with them. But yeah, we'll see. I'm just having fun racing when I can, and I hope to be able to do more and more of these. Even if I don't make the playoffs, I still want to run some of those races.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you racing with these guys, Chad, and a great performance here this evening. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Yeah, I just appreciate WSSR for putting on these races. I've done a few here or there over the last couple years, and it's a really good league with a lot of really good drivers and a lot of long green flag runs and all that good stuff. So that's cool, and I really appreciate y'all for the broadcast. Every league, every good league definitely needs a broadcast, and it's fun to get to go back and watch these. Y'all do a good job.
Well, thank you very much. That's going to be your third place finisher of Chad Wilkes coming away with third place. And Chad, good luck heading into Talladega next week.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Well, from our top three, let's take a look at where the unofficial results are here tonight at Pocono. I mean, Trevor, we talked a lot about fuel. Turns out it really wasn't that big of a deal until after the drivers crossed the line. Great saving by a lot of these drivers, but there were 4 to 5 on the off strategy that you hate to see the way that they finished. Probably the biggest one got to be Cedric Hunter in 8th place, but here's where our top 10 finished out with Brian P. Johnson going to get the win, Vincent Soares 2nd, Chad Wilkes 3rd, Zach Hall 4th, that of Brandon Colley going to get 5th with Christopher Norris 6th, 7th, great run from that of Brad Delp in the 14. That of 8th goes to Cedric Hunter, as well as 9th, Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek finishing out the top 10. Those were the main drivers on the off strategy. Did not get where they probably should have finished here this evening.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 13 of Cedric Hunter. I mean, led there early on, got on that off strategy call, and just, it worked out for him in the first run. Just needed one more lap, I think, for that strategy to really work out. Needed this race to be 91 laps, not 90, for him to pull that strategy off. Same goes for Ryan Bird, Tom Sinchek, Cogswell down there in 11th with a good run for himself, trying to work his way into the top 16 in points. Rochelle with a great recovery with how hard it was to pass here tonight. Same after getting spun off the nose of his teammate, Tom Sinchek. And you go further on down there. I mean, Larry Yingling, Sam, all the way down in 15th position. He was on the really off strategy after not pitting on that lap 10 caution. Really set him off sequence all the way back there in 15th. And then Aaron Kralik, who was having a good run for himself before some internet woes, took him out of the race in 17th. The last car to finish tonight. Just an unfortunate run for that 01 machine who was looking good early on.
Looking good early on. Still have not gotten official word on the reasoning why he called it a night early, but we hope everything is going well for that of this 01 of Aaron Kralik, as what a race it was. Came down to multiple different strategies, but we've got 3 more races to go. Talladega, the Charlotte Roval, and USA Speedway going to be the next 3 destinations to finish off the regular season. And I got to say, Trevor, certainly 3 very different tracks, but could be great tracks to see where the skill level is at heading into the playoffs. They're just that of 3 weeks away.
Yeah, you get the wild card super speedway at Talladega, the Roval, which is a really fun road course that you can get really aggressive on. And then we go short track racing, USA Speedway. Such a fun little short track, Sam. I think we're going to see a lot of beating and banging, and that being the cutoff race to get into the playoffs. That one is going to be so exciting to watch in 3 weeks, but definitely don't want to miss out on the other 2 as we get down to that crunch time, and every race is going to be important for everybody.
The nitty gritty is starting to come out, and for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, it's our favorite time of broadcasting season, as all of our different leagues are getting prepared. Playoffs right around the corner for the majority of them, as we still have other leagues that we cover throughout the week. As we come back Monday night for the ISRC Truck Series, as they've got their cutoff race, they're heading to that of Homestead. Who will move on to the round of 12? Have to find out on Monday night. Tuesday, for the Full Send Racing Series, they're heading to Darlington, as they've got 3 more races left until their regular season is done. Then on Wednesday, it's the Wicked Racing League. They start their playoffs off for that of the Next Gen Cup cars. Thursday, it's the Arctic Machines for that of Stars and Stripes as they're coming to the end of their regular season here very quickly. Then we're right back here. Talladega Super Speedway Racing. Cannot wait for it. Saturday night. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. We'll see you on our next broadcast, Monday night, Trucks at Homestead. We'll see you then.